Hello and welcome to another episode of Thick Slices and Deep Cuts. Today I'll be covering the progressive, heavy, sludgy, atmospheric band known as INTRONAUT. They hail from Southern California, somewhere in the greater Los Angeles area. Kind of an underrated band, although I think they're slowly but surely starting to get their due. But I'll go through and rank their 6 studio albums thus far. They also have a couple of EPs and another thing that I'll get to at the end here. But without wasting too much more time, I'll just start ranking the albums and get into some of the details about the band as we go. Again, band that formed, I want to say around 2004-05. Their first work sort of resurfaced in 2005. But so coming in, as we rank these 6 albums, coming in at number 6, I'm going to go with their debut. It's called Void. This was on a different label, Goodfellow Records, so their debut. Obviously, like a lot of bands, their first album is a little more raw, a little harsher. No clean vocals here. Not necessarily death metal vocals per se, but definitely harsher vocal style. But you can tell that this band already has their sound down to some extent. They've got that brash, fairly complex rhythming, but occasionally on about every, if not every song on, most of these songs, there's a part where they kind of break it down and kind of drift and jam like they're known to do on more recent albums, where they like to do that kind of back and forth of heavy and then kind of ambient layered stuff. Probably the best song on here is actually, for me, is the last track, Rise to the Mid, and they seem to really be able to open things up on there, kind of like a hint of what was to come. Also, Gleamer and Fault Lines are also excellent ones on here. So, coming in at number 6, but showing a lot of promise, their debut from 2006, Void. Okay, coming in at number 5. Coming in at number 5 is their second album, but their first with Century Media, and a huge step up here in quality. We've got Prehistoricisms. So at this point, they're bringing in their engineer Josh Newell, who I believe has been involved in every single album in some capacity to this day, whether being the engineer, the mixing guy, or whatever the case may be. This album that's much more progressive. A lot of people, I went on Prog Archives, they rank this their best album. Obviously, I disagree. I have it number 5, but I can see why some people enjoy this album. The song "The Literal Black Cloud," which is track 2, if you had to listen to just one song to sum up this album, I would go with that one. It starts off heavy for about a minute or so and complex, and then it completely breaks down to something drifty and jammy for 30 or 45 seconds. Goes right back into the heaviness. Goes into a second drifty, jammy thing. So that's sort of their style, and it's definitely in full force here. Also, Sundial's good. Australopithecus is excellent. It finishes with a 16-minute track called The Reptilian Brain, which sounds very, I don't know. There's 5 minutes of tribal drumming. It's kind of like Tool, maybe. You get a little bit of Tool influence on that song, but this is harsh. No clean singing yet at this point, but not overly brutalizing or anything. You can certainly get into it for the complex rhythms and in some of those layered jam sections. Also of note, and I love the album artwork. This artist will be featured on a few of their other albums too. But Steve Hurdle, the late Steve Hurdle of Gorguts, and I guess the offshoot of Gorguts, which was called Negativa, he guests on a solo on here, so that's pretty cool as well. So at number 5, I've got their second full length from 2008, Prehistoricisms. Coming in at number 4, we're going to move ahead to 2013 to an album called Habitual Levitations. The full title is Habitual Levitations, Instilling Words with Tones. We've moved forward, and at this point they're doing a lot of clean singing. So it's probably, I don't know, half and half on more of the gruff vocals and the clean singing and harmonies. One of my favorite songs they've ever done is a song called Milk Leg, which is on here, which again, it sums up this album and the band pretty well. It's heavy and complex for about the first 3.5 minutes, and then the final 3 minutes is just this really great jammy thing, which probably of all of their jammy breakdowns, it's probably their best one. Also, there's a song, A Sore Sight for Eyes, which again is maybe different, but it's a typical Intronaut song in that it's harsh and it has the ambient layered, more clean channel-y riffs. Killing Birds with Stones is pretty good. Harmonomicon, I believe is how you pronounce it. I think I pulled that off. That's pretty good. Blood from a Stone's all right. I dig this album. It sounds a bit like the one that came before it. And that's why I'm ranking it fourth. So Habitual Levitation is number 4. And it's coming in at number 4 because this album that came out before it is coming in at number 3, and that's 2010's Valley of Smoke. Similar artwork too. These albums are very connected, I think. The reason I rank this one ahead of Habitual Levitation's Valley of Smoke from 2010 is it just has some of my favorite tracks of all time, and it's got at least 3 tracks that are in my top 10, including my favorite song they've ever done. It's called Correlations. It's the first thing I ever heard from them. Absolutely dug it. Just very complicated and yet very melodic. It just has everything you're looking for. It's got breakdown, mellower sections. Also, the songs that share riffs and thus have titles similar. The song Above and also the song Below. So Above and Below and Correlations, 3 of my top 10 songs. Also Sunderance is excellent. Miasma's pretty good. The title track, Valley of Smoke, I believe it's the longest song on here, but again, it's another tribal one, kind of mellow. The cool thing here is Justin Chancellor of Tool guests on bass guitar on this one, which I thought was pretty cool. So I actually was wanting to rank this number 2, but upon further review, I couldn't rank it ahead of the number 2 album ultimately. But I think this album is great. This is where I got on board with the band right here. Excellent album. Notice the crows on the back and the crows on there. And then we'll get to my number 2 pick here, which is from 2015. The Direction of Last Things. You got the crows again. This I had to rank it number 2 because you cannot complain about the production's incredible here. You've got Fast Worms is excellent. They're just getting better and better at their craft at this point. All these songs are excellent. Everything on here is either good or really good or sometimes great. The song The Unlikely Event of a Water Landing is probably my favorite song on here, and it's another top 5. It starts off with like a minute of, sounds like a soundtrack to a horror movie. Somebody's talking in another foreign language. I don't know what that language is, but it's weird. And then it goes into this thing where you got a guitar playing out of one speaker, a guitar playing out of another, and they're not even that heavy sounding either for the guitars. And then you've got the drums and bass come in and they lock into their own rhythm, and then there's a vocal harmony that goes with that, and you just got all these polyrhythms. It's absolutely insane. It's just so impressive. And that goes into another song that's great called Sul Ponticello. Also I forgot to mention The Pleasant Surprise is cool. Digital Gerrymandering, City Hymnal. It's just an overall excellent album. And also, even though Josh Newell engineered this with them, they recorded with him, Devin Townsend mixed this. And also Adam Getgood, Nolly Getgood, of Periphery, formerly of Periphery, but an excellent engineer in his own right, also helped with the mixing. So Devin Townsend and Adam Nolly Getgood helped with the mix. So I think that's pretty cool. And this album, you cannot deny how high quality this one is. So that's why it beats out, my sentimental favorite is the first one I heard that got me into the band, but I think you cannot, this is in my opinion, probably the better album. But nothing tops my number 1, which came out this year in February of 2020, Fluid Existential Inversions. Absolutely, this may be my album of the year. And it came out early enough in the year that there's footage on YouTube of them in concert, like March 7th or something like that. So they were touring this for a few weeks before everything got shut down. But You should check out the video for the opening track, Cubensis. Insane video, insane video. It's a story and I don't even pretend to understand. I think I kind of get an idea of what's going on in the storyline, which is bizarre. But it fits the track. The track is bizarre. These songs go in and out from harsh and heavy to just absolutely breathtaking, layered ambient stuff. The next song, The Call, is my favorite track of the year. It starts off so Meshuggah heavy and ugly, and when that riff sequence is over, it goes into another riff sequence, which is still heavy but a little less brutal. And by the end of the song, it's so beautiful and layered and ambient, and the vocals remind me of Alice in Chains or something. But it just goes from so brutal, and I think it was by design, it's so brutal, and each part gets less and less brutal until it becomes just absolutely absolute incredible song. So The Cull, what an incredible song. Speaking of Orbs, I think they have a video for that one too. That's a cool one. So they've got these harsh ones, these beautiful ones, these cool ones. Check Your Misfortunes is cool. Pangloss is great. Sounds like it could have, other than the production being pristine, it sounds like an idea that could have come from the first album, Void. So they've kind of come full circle with some of their the opening riffs, the head-banging, awesome riff. Finishes with Sour Everythings, which is cool. And what makes that cool is they collaborated with Ben Sharp, also known as Cloud Kicker. And he contributed riffs to The Cull and Sour Everythings. And I think when I say he contributed, I think he handed them his drum parts and guitars and everything, and they just took it and put it in their digital audio workstation and worked from that, because it sounds exactly like Cloud Kicker to a T, to the snare, to the drum kick, to the whole thing. So I love how they collaborated with Ben, aka Cloud Kicker, on this. Also, I can't believe I'm waiting until the end to say this. They lost their drummer, Danny Walker, after the direction of Last Things, and I thought, man, he might be the strongest piece in the band. Well, they get this guy, Alex Rudinger, who absolutely tears it up on here. And this guy, other than like Mike Mangini of Dream Theater, I feel like Alex Rudinger is he makes such complicated music sound so simple. So he just blows me away with his performance on this album too. So probably my top album of 2020. I know we have 3-4 months to go, but I think this is probably going to be it. Incredible album from an incredible band. So there it is. Let's real quick. We'll rank the 6 again. Coming in at number 6, we're going with their debut, Void. Coming in at number 5, we're coming in with their second album, first on Century Media, Prehistoricisms. At number 4, we're going with Habitual Levitations from 2013. And then here we go. This is the creme de la creme. At number 3, 2010's Valley of Smoke. At number 2, 2015's The Direction of Last Things. And number 1 coming in for 2020, Fluid Existential Inversions, their latest. Also, they have 2 EPs. So they had a demo they put out in 2005. Goodfellow Records signed them to do the Void album, but they reissued this. So this is basically their demo reissued, called Null. So Null and Void. And they sound like they go absolutely together. So this is pretty cool. So if you like Void, they may as well just include this as bonus tracks on Void. And then in 2007, after Void, but before signing the deal with Century Media, they did this EP called The Challenger. So it's got 3 new ones. And then you've got 6 songs. I think one of them's a remix, but you got at least 3 live versions of songs from Void and a couple of live versions from the Null EP as well. So this is pretty cool. And then last but not least, I mentioned Cloud Kicker earlier. Well, Cloud Kicker did a live album, Cloud Kicker Live with Intronaut. Basically, Intronaut reached out to Ben and said, hey, we love your music, and we would like to be your backing band if you will open for us on tour. So Cloud Kicker opened for Intronaut, and Ben was joined by the 4 guys in Intronaut, and they played some excellent tracks from the Cloud Kicker catalog. And because Ben himself is a guitarist, and there are no vocals, it's all instrumental. Well, Intronaut already has 2 guitar players, so you had 3 guitar players, great bass and drums. So I just think this is just a one-of-a-kind, awesome thing. So cool that they collaborated together. I mean, I have it listed under Cloud Kicker in my CDs because it's Cloud Kicker's music, but it's Intronaut is the backing band, so that's cool as well. So that's the concise history of Intronaut right there. Just trying to kind of, I know that a lot of people may be kind of aware of them, but I think they're an excellent band. I think they're totally underrated, and I just wanted to shed a little bit more light on this band so that anybody who's listening might want to check them out. And like I said, if you want to check them out, I would start with their newest stuff first and maybe work back a little bit, but I don't know. The album I got into from them was only their third album, Valley of Smoke, and that was 10 years ago, so you can't go wrong with anything from the last 10 or 12 years. So, but I think that pretty much covers it, so thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.